everyone, this is Anne Marie, BaldGirlWillTravel. So I'm trying to adjust my camera here and let me get myself mic'd up so you guys can hear me. I'm a little late. Should work. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. Let me try to adjust my camera so that you can see me. Doesn't look like, I don't know if anyone's on yet, so it's pretty good that I'm getting this done now because I'm a little late getting on today. But anyway, this is Anne Marie, BaldGirlWillTravel. Take my glasses off because the glare is pretty bad on the camera. I don't know why I can't get this to behave today. I'm going to get it together at some point here. Okay, I think that's a little bit better. Okay, hi everyone. Today I'm actually not drinking alcohol. I'm having coconut water. I just got back from my little trip and I drank quite a bit, and I'm planning to detox over the next couple days and start my diet for my birthday trip later this summer, where I would like to be a tad bit smaller than I am now. So anyway, today we are talking Tobago. Put a little lip gloss on, brighten my face up a little bit. So this lip gloss, I've had it forever, and it is, I'm gonna tell you what it is, because it's my favorite lip gloss, and I've been searching high and low at MAC to try to get another one. So it's Ruby Woo lip gloss, and I keep stopping in at the MAC stores in the airport, and no one seems to have it. So I'm literally like scraping the last amount I have left because I love it so much. But it's damn near empty. See that? It's sad. We're like at the very end of the line on this thing. And I was just coming back here. I stopped into a MAC store in Houston, Texas, and they did not have any. So the hunt continues. Anyway, so if as you join, please say hello so I can see who's here, because you guys know I'm really not the most tech savvy person, and I always have trouble figuring out who's on the chat. So just say hello so that your hello will pop up and I'll see and I'll know you're here. So I'm talking Tobago. I just got back from Trinidad and Tobago yesterday, actually, and I'm gonna tell y'all, before I even get into Tobago, hi there, B Ford. Y'all, who, if you are planning to travel this summer, all I can tell you is gird your loins. If what I just experienced trying to get to Tobago, hey there. I'm gonna have to put my glasses on because I can't see. Y'all know I'm blind as a bat. I used to have 20/20 vision, and I have more like 0/0 vision. But anyway, traveling this past week was one of the most challenging experiences I've had since I've been traveling. And I've done some homework since I got back and realized that the United Airlines pilots are technically striking, even though they're not allowed to strike. And so I think, frankly, that they're slowing their work down. They're doing things to cause delays, to put pressure on United Airlines. And I turned out to be a victim of that in my last trip. I'm gonna tell you guys a little bit about my experience. So I fly United. It's my primary airline for international and some domestic travel because I earn a lot of points. Because I have a United Quest credit card, I get preferred seating, boarding. I earn a lot of points. I like the card a lot. And so I fly United. I usually check United first before I pick another airline to fly. So, and I have had relatively good experiences with United. I've had really bad experiences with American, with delays and cancellations and things. So I've kind of been flying with United for the last year or two, and I've had overall good experiences. This was really my first bad one, but it was a bad one. So I get to the airport to go from Mexico to Houston, and then from Houston I was going to fly direct into Port of Spain. My itinerary actually had me spending 3 days in Trinidad, which is the sister island. Trinidad and Tobago are two separate islands, same republic, right? So I was going to spend 3 days in Trinidad and then the other 4 days in Tobago. And that was intentional. I usually go directly to Tobago, but I actually wanted to spend some time in Trinidad. I lived in Trinidad as an early teenager, but there's still a lot of things that I had not done. I wanted to do a tour. I was really about re-familiarizing myself with a country that I had lived in, that my parents are from, on this trip. And I'm really glad I did it overall. It was an amazing experience. Probably the best experience I've had. And I've been traveling back and forth to this place since I was 9 years old. But getting there and getting home this time was quite a challenge. So the flight to Houston was delayed, significantly delayed, by several hours. And so I was panicking that I was going to miss my connection from Houston to Port of Spain. As soon as I landed, we finally took off like almost 3 hours later than we were supposed to. So I was sure I was going to miss my connection. So I already started talking to a friend of mine that lives in Houston about staying at her place and, you know, crashing and then flying into Port of Spain the following day. But as soon as I landed in Houston, I got a ding in my phone saying my flight to Port of Spain was delayed. And as I sat in the airport, I kept getting another message. Hi there, Lily, saying your flight's delayed again and we apologize. And then we're delayed again and we apologize. To make a long story short, I didn't get into Trinidad until something like 1 o'clock in the morning and didn't get to my hotel till past 2 a.m. The hotel staff were very nice. And I stayed at the Hilton in Port of Spain. Really nice hotel, great accommodations, great staff. I have nothing negative to say about the experience. But again, getting there was very hit or miss. Wasn't sure I was going to get there. Not much of explanation was given for why the delays were. They just were delayed and they apologized. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my trip and then I'll tell you guys about the experience coming back, which was in many ways even worse than the experience getting there. So I got to Trinidad and my first day there, I had booked a tour. I lived in Trinidad from the time I was 9 until I was 14. My dad took a job with the conference there. My parents are devout Seventh-day Adventists. My father took a job with Seventh-day Adventist Church. And we moved there for about 7 years. My father helped open schools, private schools, at Christian schools on the island. But while I lived there, and I lived very close to Port of Spain for a while as a child, I really didn't really know that much about Trinidad as a country besides the fact that I love the food. And of course, it's the land of Carnival. And people usually go to Trinidad to go to Carnival. That's like the main thing that people associate with Trinidad and Tobago is Carnival. And if you've never been there for Carnival and you're into Carnival, then I suggest you put it on your bucket list. I don't really feel you've truly experienced Carnival if you don't experience in Trinidad. It's a lot. It's going to require a lot of energy. And there's not a whole lot of sleeping that goes on. It's a party for days and days. But it's a lot of fun. I personally don't feel the need to do it anymore at this point in my life. I've done it enough that I don't feel like I need to do it again. But for those of you who have never done it, I definitely recommend it. But there is so much more to Trinidad and Tobago, and I really did experience that on this trip, than Carnival. The islands, both of them have their own different culture and history and personality. And I think people that only go there for Carnival are doing themselves a disservice. I did a tour of Port of Spain, which is the capital of Trinidad and Tobago. And the tour was going around the city, and then we went to Maracas Bay, which is very popular after Carnival. People usually go down there to relax and eat bacon shark sandwiches, which are, to me, has to be the top 5 greatest sandwiches ever created in the world. Argue with your mama. But I learned so much about the history of the country with my guide. He was really great. He was actually a Trinidadian of Chinese descent, and Trinidad has a very mixed culture. So they, there's a large Indian population, Asian, Chinese population, and African population. Africans, of course, through the transatlantic slave. Then, of course, the Chinese were brought to be indentured servants, as well as the Indians. So the food, and then, of course, there are people of Lebanese, Syrian descent as well. So the food in the country, to me, Trinidad is like, to me, in the top 3 best food in the world. And I'm always really irritated when these lists that come out and they have Italy at the top and they don't have any Caribbean island besides Jamaica. Love Jamaican food, but I just don't think it holds a candle to Trinidadian food. And if you haven't had it, I highly suggest you put that on your list as well. So he was talking to me a lot about the history of the country. We talked about food. We went to the botanical gardens, the zoo, which I went to as a child. There's a lot of like old Victorian houses that go around what they call Queen's Park Savannah, which circles the downtown of Port of Spain. And he was explaining to me about how part of Port of Spain had been actually under like the ocean, and they literally built on top of the ocean. They built the city on the sea. So there's a lot of water underneath some of the buildings and the old churches in the city because they were literally built by the Spanish on top of the ocean. I've been going to this place forever and never knew that. Maracas, of course, was the highlight. We went to the beach. We had my favorite sandwich. The beach was like a completely new experience to me because every time I've been to Maracas Bay, it's been right after Carnival. It's been super crowded. I've been to that beach many times, but never ever saw it, if that makes sense, because it was always so many people there, and it was beautiful. I mean, without the food, it was beautiful. And I just thought, how many times have I been to this beach, and yet I've actually never seen it. And then on the way to the beach, we stopped for some roti. And if you've never had roti, I suggest you Google it. It will change your life. But this roti was special. This place was special because he said it was one of the few places, where they sold lobster roti. And I'll be doing a video about that on my social media, so you look out for that. But this place sold roti it had fillings I've never seen before. Usually, roti you get curry goat or beef, shrimp, vegetables. Usually I might get some pumpkin in there, some potato, some chickpeas, chana as we call it in Trinidad. This place had squid, they had crab, they had lobster roti, and then they had a seafood roti. So I decided to go with the seafood so I could get a bit of everything. And I tell you, it was like a little bit of heaven. When you start eating something and you don't want it to end because it's so good? It was one of those kinds of experiences. So we stopped at this place, we got the seafood roti, and then I took it with me because I was very intent that I had to have my bacon shark sandwich. So I actually saved the roti and ate it when I got to the hotel. I had it warmed up and I ate it, and it was just like the perfect way to end an almost perfect day. But that bacon shark was truly the highlight of that particular day, was going down to the beach and just sitting at the beach. After I bought my sandwich, you get to put whatever toppings you want on it. I had pineapple, I had a little red onion, some lettuce, some hot pepper sauce, some green seasoning. It was delicious. On the fried shark, it was just delicious. But I ate so many good things in the last week, which is why I now must go on a diet, and why I'm drinking coconut water tonight. Because I truly am a member of Team Greedy, as you said, when I go to Trinidad. I don't even think about calories and nothing. When I go down there, I eat my life. Yeah, shadow Benny sauce. I put that on there too. But the pineapple with the pepper and the shadow Benny mixed together, and then you put the lettuce on there, and you put a little cucumber on there. Oh, it was superlative. It was a superlative experience. And then you wash it down with a bottle of sorrel shandy. If you know, you know. It was just, I just was sitting there and just thinking, how lucky am I? I'm just sitting here at the beach in the middle of the day eating one of the best sandwiches in the world, and I have nowhere I have to be, and nothing that I have to do. So Trinidad, I was there for just a couple days. That was the tour that I did. It was really, really fun. The guy who I went with was, super knowledgeable. He told me a lot about the history, about architects who helped build the city. I saw a lot of new buildings, like there's a new performing arts center that reminds me a whole lot of the Sydney Opera House. It's really beautiful, and you can see it from the hotel. The hotel is up on a hill, so you can see it from up there. He took me to the lookout point on the way to Maracas, where you can look down and see the entire city. I mean, it was just beautiful. And I have lived there for so long, never seen these places. So it was really cool to like be in the city. And I went down to Arapita Avenue, which is like a food center in Trinidad, and it got me some doubles. Again, if you don't know about doubles, put it on the list of things that you must eat before you die. Things you must eat before you die: a bacon shark sandwich, a roti of any kind, but now seafood rotis at the top of my list of favorite things, and doubles. Those three things, and I would also say some coconut bakes with smoked herring. Those four things right there, if you've never had them, you need to put them on your list, and you need to have them in your life as soon as possible. Okay? I ate doubles before it. I had so much doubles last week until I got to the point where I was like, I shouldn't have any more of this. Because if I saw a double stand, I was over there buying it. Okay? Hi there. So from Trinidad, I went over to Tobago. I was only in Trinidad for about 2 days. Got there, missed more the whole day because I got there late. Went on the tour the next day. Went to Arapita Avenue that evening, and I went on the tour the day after that. So yeah, and then the following day I left. So and then the first day I was there, I had to take care of some personal stuff. So I didn't really get to do anything but go to Arapita Avenue and eat doubles. And then next day I went on my tour, which was a lot of fun. And then the day after that, I got on a plane and flew to Tobago. So to get to Tobago, you have to fly into Trinidad, to Port of Spain, Piarca Airport, and then you can take a domestic flight to Tobago. The flights usually leave every hour and a half or so. Surprisingly, this is the first time since I've been flying to Trinidad, flying to Tobago from Trinidad, that my flights were all on time. And if you are from Trinidad, you know what I'm talking about. Can you believe it? Both my flight to Tobago and from Tobago were on time. This has never happened in the history of me going to Tobago, where my flight left at the time that it was supposed to leave, but my flight was on time. It's a 15 to 20 minute flight. It's not long. It's kind of like flying from Dar es Salaam to Zanzibar Island, about 20-minute flight. But the planes are bigger. They're not little puddle jumpers like what you're going to be in to go to Zanzibar. But the flight was on time, got to Tobago. I'm going to tell y'all one thing. The sun is hot in the Caribbean. I always forget how hot it is. But when you get off that plane and you come down the steps, because there's no, enclosed jetway for you to walk on. Like when you get to Trinidad, there's a jetway. You don't go outside. But when you get to Tobago, you got to walk down them steps off that plane, and that sun starts beaming. It's not a game. I literally took a taxi around the damn corner because my hotel, I could actually see my hotel from the airport. That's how close the hotel I was staying in was. And funny, I stayed there for 4 days, 4 nights, 5 days. Never heard the plane, not one time. But the airport, you could actually see it from the hotel. I could have walked, but I went outside and I felt that sun on top of my little bald head. And I was like, not today, Jesus, and got in a taxi. And had that man drive me around the corner because it was too damn hot to be walking and pulling a little suitcase behind you. I stayed at the Crown Point Hotel, but I actually stayed in an Airbnb, which was wonderful. This woman had, some of the rooms are privately owned and the cabanas are privately owned. And I rented a studio cabana facing the ocean. This hotel faces Store Bay, the ocean. You literally walk 2 feet and you are on the beach. It was fantastic. Sat there, had a drink, watched the sunset, sat at the bar, watched the sunset. And what was great about it is because it's on the hotel grounds, I could use all the hotel amenities. I could use the pool. There was a bar, there was a restaurant, good food, had an excellent breakfast there, and a really good bacon shark sandwich there, as well as a flying fish sandwich. If you know about flying fish, you know what I'm talking about. At the bar, good rum punch, and you sit there, watch the sunset right from the bar by the pool. And then you could walk right down to the beach. It wasn't even a 30-second walk from the cabana to the beach. And from the cabana, you could literally sit and watch the sunset from the little porch on my cabana. So it was like the perfect place for me to stay. Airport was right there. Bars, restaurants, the strip was right there. Not even a good 10-minute walk. So it was a really good location. I highly recommend the Airbnb where I stayed. The hotel itself is probably a 3-star hotel, and that I found, and for people who think about going to Tobago, and I'll talk a little bit about the trip that I'm putting together, but there are not a lot of 4- and 5-star hotels in Tobago. Tobago is not a super developed country relevant to tourism. It's not like Jamaica or Barbados or Aruba and some of these places that have all these big, massive oceanfront hotels where the hotels own all the beachfront and people, public can't go on the beach. In Trinidad and Tobago, the most beautiful beaches they're all public. Hotels may be near the beach, but none of them are sitting directly on the beach, and none of them own the beachfront. So as a person, you can walk on the beach and use the beach. All the beaches that are in the Crown Point, Store Bay area are public beaches. I was staying in a hotel near Store Bay, but I was walking distance to Pigeon Point, which is one of the prettiest beaches I've ever seen, and definitely one of the prettiest beaches in Tobago, but not the only one I found out on this trip. So I got to Tobago, I hung out, watched the sunset, and then the next day, I booked a 12-hour tour with a company called Island Girl Tours. This, I honestly have to say, was truly one of the best experiences, me traveling anywhere, but definitely in Tobago. I got to see places in Tobago I've never seen before in my life, and I've been going to Tobago since I was 9 years old. My father and mother were born on that island. I've never seen some of the places that I saw. I saw waterfalls. I've only ever heard of one waterfall. This guy took me to 3. He showed me about 5 because we were driving. He took me to 3 and would have taken me to more if I was the kind of person who wanted to trek and climb hills and stuff. I don't do that. I don't find that stuff relaxing. I'm not up into climbing mountains and going up ridges and shit to see nothing. But if you're into that kind of thing, there are over 50 waterfalls apparently on the island. Never knew it. I heard about the rainforest. My father mentioned it. Never knew it. Never took me. Never saw it. Argyle Falls, absolutely beautiful. But then he took me to one in a place called Palatavere that was just amazing. My late mother was born in a village called Charlottesville. Charlottesville, I think, is on the most western point of the island. So when you fly in, you're flying in on one end. Charlottesville is on the complete opposite end of the island. So he took me on a tour that took me from the bottom and went all the way to Charlottesville, back around, back to the bottom. It was 12 hours. It didn't feel like 12 hours. It felt like it went by really fast. But I saw places and things that I've never saw. I saw beaches I've never seen. I saw waterfalls I'd never seen, not even never seen, but never heard of. I visited villages that I'd heard of my mother speak of, but never talk about. My mother used to talk to me a lot about how beautiful Tobago was to her. And she would mention places like Palatavere and Castara, but I never seen them, all right? I got to see them on this tour, and it was just amazing. Where my mother is from in Charlottesville is absolutely like a picturesque. I didn't eat souse on this trip, but yeah, there was souse and boiled corn and mango chow and pineapple chow and all those things down by the beach. But I can get souse pretty easily. When I was in DC, I had souse when I was there, so I didn't really feel a hankering to have souse. But they did have souse on the beach and in Castara as well. But I saw a black sand beach, which I never knew that Tobago even had such a thing. I saw a pink sand beach, which was in a cove. Hi, Yolanda. In a cove in you can get on a boat. We got on a boat and we went around the bay in Charlottesville, where my mom was from. I saw a cove called Pirates Bay that my mom used to talk about all the time when I was a kid. Beautiful. Another place called Bloody Bay, because of a slave uprising. The guy was explaining to me how some of the beaches got their names. And another one called Dead Man's Cove, I believe. But just really beautiful, picturesque, nobody there beaches and coves. Just sitting there, being pretty, not doing nothing, just sitting there. I'd never seen any of these places before in my life. And this was literally in a village where I used to go every summer. I went in a boat and he took me out and I saw all of these places. Then they took me to Lookout that I haven't been to since I was probably 10 with my uncle. So we went up there to Fort Campbellton Lookout, which was amazing. You could see the entire Charlottesville bays. I mean, the beautiful thing about Tobago is that it's so untouched. It's not overdeveloped. It's not, I mean, there's development. There's small boutique hotels. There's some larger hotels. I will be honest, some of them really need a good facelift because a lot of them have been there for a long time and haven't been upgraded. There's probably only one proper 5-star hotel on the whole island. Most of the hotels are probably 3-star. So I'm still kind of communicating with hotels now to try to figure out where I would like to have people stay when I go there. Because I need a certain level of comfort. And I assume that most people who are like me need a certain level of comfort. So I'm still figuring that out. But the island is so beautiful. He took me to see the sun, like right after sunrise, to this, like, it was like a boardwalk, and it headed right out to the ocean. And it was behind this development that used to be a Hilton hotel for a couple of years, and then is now privately owned hotel, Tobago Plantations. But it's behind that development. I never knew this existed. I mean, it was so beautiful. And you just follow this little boardwalk, and then the ocean is sitting right there. And there are all these mangroves growing up out of the water. It was like something out of a movie. And it was just sitting there. It was, and there were so many places like that I saw. Like when he took me to see the Argyle Falls, and you're walking out, and the water is so clear, you could see the fishes, swimming around your feet while you're walking around because the water was so clear in the lake. Same thing with Store Bay. Like you're walking out into the water and it's completely clear all the way out. I just was in Fort Lauderdale a couple weeks ago to visit my dad, and all I can say is that's not what the beach is like when you go to Fort Lauderdale Beach, right? You could barely see your hands in the water. So it's just kind of, and all the beaches I went to were like that. Some of them, the water was a little bit rougher, but Castara Bay, breathtaking. That whole area of Tobago is absolutely beautiful. I'm talking to Island Girl about putting together some excursions for the meetup that I'm planning to do in Tobago next May. This was the second year I spent Mother's Day in Tobago, and I've decided that I kind of like spending Mother's Day in Tobago. There's something about being there on Mother's Day in the place where my mother was born that made me very happy. And so I'm planning to be back in Tobago in May 2024, but I will be planning to take people who are interested in going on that trip. So I'm putting together a trip to Tobago for a small group of people. I'll be making more information about that available. So if you're interested, you can subscribe to my website. Link is in the description of this video, and information about that will be coming out. But it was really a beautiful day. It was like almost a perfect day. We ended the day on Pigeon Point Bay watching the sunset. And it was just a perfect day. That's all I can really say about it. I mean, every experience I had, there was really something special about every experience I had. And especially seeing places that I heard my mother talk about many, many times, going back to the village where she was born, going by where my grandmother's house was. It was a really perfect day. But the highlight for me was just seeing I saw probably about 6 or 7 beaches that I'd never seen before and that I didn't know existed. So that was really wonderful. And then Mother's Day, I spent the entire day, pretty much the whole day on the beach, which was nice. On Store Bay, I got up in the morning, I got there, went down to Miss Jean's, which is my favorite place. There's a like an area where you can buy food. In Store Bay, they have several people that have like little shops and those like mini carryouts. And I like Miss Jean's. I've been going to Miss Jean's since I was probably a teenager. Miss Jean, the original Miss Jean, is no longer with us, but I think her relatives now run the place. So I went there and had my coconut bakes and herring sandwich for breakfast, where you could bite it and you could taste the coconut in every bite. It was so delicious. And then I had curry crab and dumpling for lunch. If you know, you know. It was a perfect day, perfect Mother's Day. Hung out on the beach. The water was beautiful, barely any waves all day long. Just sat on the beach, got a beach chair and an umbrella. And that's the thing about Tobago. It really is a place that you want to go to relax, because there's not like, there's not going to be any jet skiing. You can do glass bottom boat rides. They have a reef. They'll take you out to see the reef. There, you see the water, the coral and the fishes and so on. And then there's a sandbank called the nylon pool that you can go out. Sometimes you can see the sandbank, but now it's mainly the ocean, but it's really shallow. So when you go out there, you can get out of the boat and swim, and you literally, it's like maybe up to a little bit past my waist, and I'm only 5'1", so it's pretty shallow and it's lovely. The water is like beautiful. And then there's a sandbank called No Man's Land that you can go and get like fried fish and rum punch and stuff like that. None of these places are developed. Like if you go to to the nylon pool, there's no hotels sitting on the water. You go to the sandbank, there's just regular people cooking and selling food. And I like that about the island. I like that I don't feel like I'm being given a curated experience. You go to Tobago and you experience it for what it is. It's not a manufactured experience when you go there, and I really like that about it. There are things about that other people might not enjoy. If your preference is to be on an all-inclusive and having people bringing you drinks and making you hamburgers on the beach, then you might not enjoy Tobago as much. But if you want an authentic island experience where each village you go to has its own personality and its own, thing, you'll enjoy it. I went to this one place called Auntie Cheryl's Bird Paradise, I think is what it was called, a bird sanctuary. And basically this woman has a place that she has a waterfall on her property. I didn't see it because I didn't feel like trekking down the hill to go see it. But she has a restaurant. She does restaurants. She had homemade soursop ice cream. Y'all. Ooh, that was good. And some stew fried fish. Oh my goodness. And everything was like, tastes like your grandmother made it. But she had all these different, feeders, bird feeders on the property. I saw so many hummingbirds, and I live in Mexico, so I see hummingbirds a lot. But they were specific birds, like one of them had a red tail, the other one had a white tail, just beautiful birds that were just flying around the property the entire time we were up there eating. I'd never seen so many different types of hummingbirds. Same thing when we went to go into the waterfall. There were so many different varieties of birds. Tobago is known for birds, and a lot of people who are into bird watching do come to the island just to see the birds. But, there were parrots flying overhead that the guy was pointing out to me. And there were just all these birds, and they're just like, they've been there all along, but I just guess I never noticed them. I knew about the hummingbirds, but I guess I was paying attention. And there were so many birds where people were coming out and basically holding a little thing with sugar water in it, and the birds would fly up and feed from the palm of their hands, because there's so many hummingbirds on the property. And they were just flying around the entire time we were there. I actually shot a little video of them. But there were so many different types of hummingbirds. That was the thing, where you could look at them and see this one's different from that one, and that one's different from the other one. So it's a place where, there's a lot of really natural beauty. And you have to be able to appreciate that, and pristine beaches, like really beautiful beaches. Then there's some, like Buku that I went to that are popular that I don't think are that special. But then places like, there's a place called Kings Bay that we went to, and Castara Bay and Palatavere, and those places are just gorgeous, like really beautiful. And of course, Charlottesville. Charlottesville is just, very beautiful, but very quaint. And it still is basically the same as it was when I was going there when I was a kid. It really hasn't changed its character very much, except now they do have cable. When I was a child, there's no TV. It was not a fun experience if you were 9 or 10 years old to go somewhere where there was no TV, and all you could do was listen to the radio. They do have cable up there now, so there's that. But the character of the village has not really changed much besides that. So I always kind of like going there because it still feels the same. You get there. When I go to Charlottesville, I always meet at least 2 or 3 people who are related to me. And I always tell people I'm related to everyone in that village by either blood or marriage. So, of course, the guy who was taking us out on the boat was related by marriage. So he was telling me, his brother was married to a member of my family or something, one of my cousins or something like that. But that happens a lot. I mean, I would meet people on the beach. As soon as I tell them who my grandparents are, either they're my cousin or somebody in their family is married to one of my cousins. It's that kind of a place. Everybody has a nickname. Nobody goes by their actual given birth name because everybody's got a nickname. So, when I'm telling people who my grandfather is, hey, Nalise, when I'm telling people who my grandfather is, I have to tell them my grandfather's nickname. Can't tell them my grandfather's birth name because they might not know who I'm talking about. But if I give them his nickname, they know exactly who I'm talking about. It's that kind of place. And, where people are super, at first they might kind of give you the side eye, but as soon as you say who your people are, everybody is really excited to see you and starts asking you about, this person and that person. So I really had a really wonderful experience, and it really made me think I would really want more people to experience what I experienced because Tobago is very special. In addition to the rainforest and the birds and the beaches, the people are just super nice, and the food is really, really good. I mean, between those 2 islands, I can't say one is better than the other. I just can say you're going to eat really good on both islands. Whether you go to Trinidad or whether you go to Tobago, the food experiences are just, I can't think of a single thing that went in my mouth that I did not enjoy at a really high level for the whole time I was on the island. I can't think of a single thing I ate that I was like, ooh, I don't like that. Like, it was one of those kinds of things. Now, there are things that I don't particularly like, so I don't eat them, like red mango and stuff like that. I just don't like them. But, for example, I went to my uncle's house. My uncle has so many different types of mango trees in his yard, and it was mango season. I got there right at the tail end, and my uncle went in the back and he picked, if you know about Julie mangoes, just say amen in the comments. Y'all, my uncle picked some of the last Julie mangoes off of his tree and gave them to his niece. And I went back to that hotel and sat on that porch in that cabana, and I ate every last one. I think I ate like 4 Julie mangoes all by myself. And then the next morning I ate the last one. And you couldn't tell me nothing. I just sat there and I ate them, and I did not care. Because I was like, I'm not leaving these Julie mangoes here. Nobody else is getting them. He picked so many of them for me. I ended up just giving them to my uncle because I was like, I can't eat all of these, but I'm going to take these 5 and I'm going to eat them. And I ate every single one of them, and they were so good. And I know I'm not getting another Julie mango this year, right? Because this is a mango I have hardly ever been able to find outside of the Caribbean. So, when you go eat a mango in Mexico, or you buy a mango in a store in America, you're usually going to get Mexican mangoes, which I'm not knocking Mexican mangoes, but they're not Julie mangoes. And then they had my uncle also had starch mangoes. If you know about those, you also know what I'm talking about. They're really small, they're sweet, they're delicious. And he was just, my other uncle was just going up and pick, with a stick and pulling them out of the tree. And you just sat there and ate them. And it was just really, it's just a really, and my uncle had a big, sour cherry tree, and the cherries were just coming in, so they weren't ready yet. But he was like, oh, they'll be in, in another month or something like that. So it's like when you go to the island, you can literally have those kinds of experiences that can't really have in an all-inclusive hotel, unless you go off resort, which I'm really big on because I like to go into the country. And some countries are not necessarily safe for you to just be wandering about. And Tobago is a place where I feel like I can walk about and do things and I don't worry about my, physical safety. Yes, you got to have some common sense. I wouldn't say to be wandering about at 1 o'clock in the morning by yourself, but people are friendly. You can just walk up, and talk to people, and people are super friendly, and the food cannot be beat. Trinidad exchange rate is, I think, it's about 6 to 1 US, $6 and some change to $1 US. So it's good. It's not as good as Mexico, but it's good. And so you can have a pretty reasonable experience. I mean, there, I feel like especially food is not super expensive to buy, and fruits and things like that are really inexpensive. So you can do that, and eat really well there and not spend a lot of money. You can go down to the beach. They have a beach that you can go to where the guys will literally catch the fish, season the fish, cook the fish, and give you the fish on the beach. I like that kind of stuff. And I love me a good fried fish and bake sandwich, or fried fish and coconut bakes. I love that kind of stuff. So I like doing things like that. So for me, it's a really cool, unspoilt, uncurated experience. And I love both experiences. I like going to places where I'm in a hotel and people are bringing me drinks. I like that. And I also like going places where it's not as curated either. So going to Tobago to me is kind of like having a more organic, authentic experience on an island where you can go out and knock about and see things, on your own or with a tour. I really feel like what I experienced on this trip, I would not have been able to experience, without having gone on that tour. I'm really glad that I found them, and that I booked them. I was looking for a guide, and they had really good, reviews, and so I decided to, go with them, and I had a wonderful experience from start to finish. I mean, he treated me so well. David and his wife's name is Anna, is just the sweetest, nicest people. David, moved back to Tobago from Canada many years ago and started his tour company, and just treated me like family. I mean, they had breakfast for me when he picked me up at 6:30 in the morning, coffee. His wife made saltfish, delicious, buljol and coconut bakes, and y'all know how I feel about food. And we sat on, by the beach in Scarborough, and I ate my sandwich, and they had coffee, and he bought, got almond milk because I told him I don't drink cow's milk. I mean, they just took really good care of me. He really listened to what I said I wanted to do and see that day. I know that he would have liked to show me more waterfalls than I saw, right? Because he loves, to show people waterfalls and hidden beaches and so on. But he didn't like try to press me to go do things I didn't want to do, which I really appreciated. And he made sure that I saw the things that I wanted to see. And I told him I wanted to see a couple of waterfalls, but I really wanted to see some beaches. And he made sure that I saw every single place that I told him about, that my mom had told me about. He made sure I saw every single one of those places and then some. So I really had a wonderful experience with Island Girl Tours. Highly, highly recommend them. If you're going to Tobago, if you choose to go to Tobago with me, you will definitely meet David, because David will be doing all my tours, for my excursions that I'm putting together for Tobago. There's no way that I would be able to do the 12-hour. It's a lot. I wouldn't put other people through that. But we are going to do some individual, excursions to different parts of the islands for, the group of people that go with me. And we're going to I told him that I would like him to put together a waterfall experience for people who want to do that. Not for the group, but for people in the group who actually want to do it, who want to spend a day and like go out with him and actually go waterfall chasing, go see some waterfalls, go into the bushes and see the waterfalls. He can put that together for people who want to do that and take them out to do it. But that's not my ministry. I saw the waterfalls that I want to see. But there will be lots of beaches. There will be lots of eating, because that's the kind of stuff I like. And there will be lots of hanging out on the beach and having a little, have cups of drinks and having some food and doing some dancing and stuff like that. So Had a wonderful time in Tobago. And then it was time for me to come home. So let's talk about the adventure I had trying to get back home to Mexico. So I left Tobago on the 16th, which was Tuesday. And like I said, my flight on the 15th is when I left, because my flight was supposed to be at midnight, 12:30 a.m. from Port of Spain to Houston. So I left my Airbnb on a 4:40 flight from Tobago. And I picked a 4:40 flight because in my past experiences with Caribbean Airways, they are never on time. They are always delayed. And I knew my flight was leaving at midnight, so I didn't want to take the 7 o'clock that they had, even though it's 20 minutes, because of past experiences I had where I've almost missed my flight back to the US because of Caribbean Airways and their delays from Tobago. I decided to take the 4:40. First time in the whole time I've been flying Caribbean Airways between Trinidad and Tobago, the flight left on time. So I am in the airport in Trinidad at 5:30, 5:15 or something like that, 5:10 or something like that. And of course I get there. They have not yet opened the desk to check people in, because this is Trinidad. And they informed me that they don't open the desk till 3 hours before the flight. And so I couldn't get into the international area because the very, conscientious security people would not let me in without a paper boarding pass, because their machine couldn't read the boarding pass that was on my phone. Don't get me started. So I'm sitting there waiting for them to open up the gate so that I can get my boarding pass. But it did give me an opportunity to have another superlative dining experience. And that was, I went to Royal Castle and got me some fried chicken in the airport, and y'all, I'm telling you what, that might be the best fried chicken that I've had outside of Oohs and Ahs in Washington, D.C. Their fried chicken wings. I don't know what seasoning they put on that chicken before they fry it, but that was some damn good fried chicken in the airport. I ain't never had no fried chicken in the airport that tastes like that. And I remember my cousin mentioning the fried chicken in the airport. So I was like, since I'm here and I have some time to kill, let me go get me, a little 3 chicken wing with fries basket. And then, they got the pepper sauce and the ketchup, and oh my God, it was so good. That was some delicious fried chicken. If you are in the Piarco Airport, make your way to the Royal Castle. It's right there where the bar is, next to the international gate. You can't miss it. It's across from the Starbucks. Y'all, Oohs and Ahs is the business in Washington, D.C. When I go to visit D.C., which is where I used to live, a visit is not really complete if I don't stop into the Oohs and Ahs. And now they got a bigger one. They used to have the little one on U Street. They got a bigger one up on Georgia Avenue where you can sit down. That's where I went the last time, and it did not disappoint. Oohs and Ahs. You want some good soul food? It's a good mac and cheese, some good string beans that's cooked but not overcooked. Oohs and Ahs. But that fried chicken at the Royal Castle in the airport of Port of Spain, y'all, it almost but did not quite make up for the fact that they open the gate, I get my boarding pass, I go to the lounge, and right when I'm making my way to the lounge, I get the message that my flight is now not leaving until 2:47 a.m. And they're sorry, and they apologize, and blah, 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 text message. But your flight will start boarding at 1:47, right? Okay. And the lounge is closing at 11:30 a.m., 11:30 p.m. So you got them women looked at me like, we don't know where you got to go, but you got to get the hell up out of here, right? So 11:30 p.m., got to leave the lounge and go sit in steerage, as I call it, with everybody else. Okay, fine. Sit there. They finally call the flight. The flight didn't land until almost 1:45 a.m. So I already was concerned whether or not, the flight was gonna, whether we were gonna get on a plane. But we get on the plane, And I'm so tired at this point that as soon as we got on the plane, I just got my little, cozy pillow and put it around my neck and put my head against the window and was already starting to doze off when I heard a voice come over the PA system, and the woman next to me said, "We got to get off the plane." And I was like, "Excuse me, what? Don't you know that those people canceled our flight, took us off the plane and canceled our flight, talking about how we passed the deadline and the flight crew needs to have more rest time." And so they literally put us on that plane and then took us off the plane, canceled our flight, and told us that we would have to rebook to leave the next day and that they would have to put us up in a hotel. Y'all. And then the guy says, he gets on the PA and basically says, they told us that in order for the flight to leave on time, we needed to have everybody on the plane by 2:30 a.m. He said, we had everyone on the plane by 2:30 a.m. And then at 2:33, a flight attendant opened the door. And if you open the door after they board everyone on the plane, they automatically have to take everyone off the plane. That's what the guy in the airport told us. I don't know if that's true or not. And he said, we did what we were supposed to do. And when I was coming off the plane, one of the pilots was standing near the gate, like where we had boarded, and he mouthed, "I'm sorry" to me. He was like, and I just glared at him because, y'all, I probably looked like I wanted to murder him. That's probably why he said it when I saw him, because I was so pissed. Because I was like, it's now 3 o'clock in the morning and they're taking us off the plane. And then they said, basically, you got to go get now all the people with luggage, you got to go get your luggage. If you bought something from the duty free, you have to turn it in to somebody over here and you'll have to pick it back up tomorrow. You can't take it out the airport. I have never been so happy that I didn't check a bag in my life. It was me and 2 other men on the plane that had all our stuff with us and were able to walk straight up to the desk. We were the first people online to get put our name on the list to go to the hotel. They did put us up in a decent hotel. It wasn't the Hilton, but it was in Port of Spain. We waited a good 45 minutes to an hour for the maxi taxi, as they call them. They're basically minivans, people movers. For the maxi taxi to come and pick us up from the airport and carry us all the way to Port of Spain to the Cape Park Hotel. If you're from Trinidad, y'all know where Cape Park Tree is. That is not nearby. So by the time we got to the hotel, I will say the people in the hotel, in the airport, were very nice. People in the hotel were very kind. By the time I went, and then they told us that we needed to be back at the airport by 12:30 or so to be checked in, and our flight's not leaving until 4 p.m. the next day. That United would take care of rebooking everyone and would send us information. Now, I will say, United, before I left the airport, they already had sent me a message about my flight, right? I call these people on the phone, and the guy's like, "Oh, you're already rebooked. You'll be back. You're going to get to Mexico on Wednesday." What did he tell me? Wednesday afternoon. I was supposed to be back home by Tuesday evening. I did not get home until Wednesday afternoon because they did not fly us back to Houston until Tuesday night. And there were no flights to take me to Mexico by the time I got to Houston. So I had to get a hotel voucher, which I have to go fight this out with United now. They gave us hotel vouchers, but I didn't like none of the options they gave us. I'm very particular about where I lay my head. I don't know about other people, but I'm real funny about that. So I had already booked myself into the DoubleTree Hilton. So I'm gonna be trying to get me some refund money for my hotel stay. I have this is where my lawyering skills will come into play. I have a very long message that I have, letter that I have already written to United. I just need to send my little missive off. United did send us a long email with an apology and a portal for us to put in our complaints and refunds and so on. So I'll be taking care of that tomorrow. Because I'm telling y'all, when I got home to Mexico yesterday, I was so tired. I went straight to bed. I slept until like 6 o'clock this morning. I was exhausted because all of that moving around, and you're going to, you fly into one place and you got to get off the plane and you got to go to another hotel and you got to check in. You get there, and apparently United had messed up a lot of flights. They were not just us. They were people who had gotten stuck in Cabo. So there is something going on with United Airlines. And I was reading an article today where they were saying that the pilots are, some of them are picketing. Now in the United States, they can't just go on strike. Airline workers are not allowed to just go on strike. They have to get permission. So they're technically not on strike, but they're doing things that, in my opinion, intentionally slowing down transportation. I don't feel that what they did was accidental. I think they did it on purpose. And the article I was reading, they were basically saying, if you're flying this summer, like gird your loins, because there are a lot of strikes. And in Europe, they can just go on strike whenever they want. The Italians love to go on strike in the summer because that's how they apply pressure. So they were like, make sure you're paying attention to what's going on. Especially United Airlines, it's very likely that there are going to be a lot of delays and issues with United while the pilots try to negotiate their new contract. They want raises, said they ain't had a raise in 4 years. They want raises. I'm sure I'm just waiting for the flight attendants to join the fray. Southwest Airway pilots are also rumbling about striking. I know that they voted approving a strike, but like I said, they can't actually not show up for work. But I think they're doing things to slow down. So if you are traveling this summer, I'm not supposed to be traveling until near the end of the summer. Again, I plan, if I'm doing any traveling, it's going to be right here in my beloved Mexico. I ain't coming out unless I got to go back to the States for an emergency issue, and I might have to do that. I'm not planning to travel like to Europe, Asia, any of those places. I think it's going to be very stressful for people traveling this summer. Because, you know, we're coming, this is officially first summer where people feel fully out of COVID. People are trying to travel and go places. And I think people that work in the airline industry see this as their opportunity to get them some money. And I'm not mad about, you know, people making money and being paid what they believe that they're worth. But the customers are the ones that are going to get squeezed in the middle of this. And so if you're planning to travel this summer, gird your loins. Gird your loins. It's not going to be fun. And you know, American, they always delayed. They always late. They always canceling flights. And, you know, for those of you who like to fly soul plane, I don't do spirits. I don't know nothing about it. But from what I heard, they randomly cancel flights too. So those things on top of what's going on with the airline, Southwest has been having issues even before that. And now their pilots are talking about striking. So just gird your loins and prepare that the time that you think you going somewhere might not be the time that you're going. Get travel insurance. That's all I can tell you. Get travel insurance or use a card where you have benefits that's going to cover stuff for you, because these airlines don't care. I mean, you know, they will apologize. I will say that I've never had so many airline, emails from an airline apologizing to me before as what I've experienced with United. I will say when I called, people were very nice. You know, the woman upgraded my seats. I had paid for an economy premium. She put me on both legs in economy E premium, even though I hadn't paid, because, you know, I was very belligerent. I was good and pissed. And then, of course, you know, the flight that was supposed to leave at 4 o'clock didn't leave till damn near 5 o'clock. That was delayed too. So it was just, but I was just happy when they took off, because after the drama from the morning before, I wasn't even going to complain as long as they took off and got us to Houston. But it was a hot mess. When you got to Houston, you had to go get your vouchers. Everybody and their mama was on the line. Again, another time when I was very happy to have not checked any bags, because I was able to just walk up to the desk and be one of the first people before the line got really, really long. But they were giving out hotel vouchers. They were giving out food vouchers at the airport, because there were so many people that were stuck in Houston. Like this one guy was walking to the gate and they basically had to tell him there were no more flights leaving that night when we got in. And they were like, whatever flight you think you're getting on, the gates are all closed. Come over here and get your hotel voucher. I was dying laughing because I was like, they were walking with authority like they thought they were getting ready to go somewhere. And they were like, yeah, y'all need to cover, get on this line. Gates closed. Ain't no more flights coming out of here tonight. Everybody, if you in Houston, you got to stay here. So when I got to the Hilton, long line to check in. A bunch of people there trying to get home, had to stay overnight in Houston. So in the morning, I called an Uber to go to the airport because I wasn't trying to be up on the shuttle van with everybody and their mama. Because COVID is still real and I'm very particular. And I was wearing my mask on the plane because there was people hawking, children coughing behind me. And you know, they are the biggest germ carriers in the universe. So I still recommend, if you care about not getting sick while you're traveling, put a couple masks in your pocket. You might need it. When the woman next to you on the row starts coughing into her damn sleeve, I looked at her and I put my damn mask on. Like, yes, I'm putting this on just because of you. So make sure you got some masks in your bag because these people out here and they don't give a damn. Especially this summer because folk will be getting stranded this summer somewhere. So do you have any questions about Tobago? I'm going to check real quick before I sign off. I hope this has been helpful. Like I said, you know, I'm launching my meetups. This is something I've been thinking about, is doing group trips, small group trips, with women who want to travel but aren't ready to travel by themselves quite yet, where you can meet up with me and other women who like to travel solo and hang out and do fun stuff. This is not going to be no retreat. We're not going to be doing no deep breathing exercises. We will not be sitting in circles and holding hands, but we will be holding glasses of wine. We will be drinking. We will be dancing on the beach. We will be going on boats. We will be doing fun shit. You know, you will have to do your self-introspection on your own. We're not doing none of that, but we will have fun. So if that's interesting to you and you would like to meet up with me, I am doing several meetups. I'm actually finishing my Jamaica. I'm going to be doing a trip to Jamaica for Galentine's Day in February. That's going to be going up later this evening. I'm working on Tobago. Hopefully I'll have that up by the end of next week. And I'm really excited to say Turkey. If you're interested in going to Turkey, I'm going to be doing a trip to Turkey in April. I've been wanting to go back to Turkey for a while, and I have managed to put together a trip to Turkey that I think is really good, really well priced, and will be a lot of fun. All my trips will have the excursions will be included, as well as the hotel and airport transfers, but you will have to buy your own flight and get there. And then once you get there, everything will be set up for you, from hotel to airport transfers to activities each day, but also with free time for you to go off and do things on your own, because the whole point of it for me is to get us together, but to give you an opportunity to travel and meet up with like-minded people and have some fun, but also have a semi-solo travel experience where you have time to also go out and do things on your own. So if that's of interest to you, make sure you're subscribed to my website, BaldGirlWillTravel.com. You click on Travel With Me, and you can find information about my meetups that are coming up in 2024. The first one will be to Zanzibar, Tanzania in January. And then we will be doing a trip in February, a trip in April. May is Trinidad. And I'm working on a trip to Tuscany and Sicily for fall 2024. So I'll be sharing more information about that. I'm still working on those trips. But Turkey, Jamaica, and Tanzania is already up. So if you're interested in Zanzibar, you can go to my website and get information about that. Jamaica will be up by tomorrow morning. Tobago will be up by next week. And Turkey should be up next week as well. I'm doing gotta get some final details on the excursions, and then I'll be ready to put it up. But I'm super excited about all of them. I'm picking places that, you know, I love. Most of them are places I've either been before, I really enjoyed, and I want to go back, and I want other people to have the same experience. Turkey, super excited about Turkey. I went to Turkey when I was working in international development, and I absolutely loved it. But I didn't feel like I got to have the full experience because I was working. I went to Cappadocia, didn't get to see the balloons go up. There are things I wanted to do I didn't get to do, so I'm going to do them on this trip. And then I didn't see Istanbul at all. outside of going to meetings and having a really great dinner on the waterfront because I was working and I went to Cappadocia with the little couple free days that I had. So this trip is going to be 3 days in Istanbul and 2 days in Cappadocia, 5 nights, 6 days. So if you're interested in Turkey, definitely pay attention. If you're interested in Jamaica, Tobago, I just love Jamaica. I haven't been to Jamaica in a while. I want to go back to Jamaica. I want to go to Jamaica for Valentine's Day. That's why I'm doing the trip. So if you want to go to Jamaica and hang out with me, by all means. But I'm going to Jamaica in January. In February for Valentine's Day. Or Galentine's Day, as I like to call it. And then Tobago will be in May, Mother's Day. It will be February 13 through 18, I believe. Not February, May 13 through 18. Don't hold me to the dates, but I believe those are the dates that we're doing. We're doing it. It will be inclusive of Mother's Day. So that group of days, I think it's the Wednesday to the Monday I'm doing the Tobago trip. So I should have Tobago finalized hopefully by early next week. I'm waiting for some information from the hotel that I think I'm going with. So once I have that together, I will put that out. And so if you want to do that, you can let me know. I'm trying to keep the deposits low so that they're accessible. And as I said, I'm trying to keep the prices reasonable. But for everything that I'm including, I think that the pricing is pretty good because you're not going to have to pay for anything once you get there. You will be in a hotel and at a minimum, not all your meals. Tobago, I don't think meals are going to be included. Breakfast will be included, but not dinner, because Tobago doesn't have any all-inclusives at all. But all the excursions will be included. Your airport transfers will be included. Breakfast will be included. And actually, I think Tobago is a place where you probably don't want to be stuck in one place to eat and there'll be a welcome dinner and a farewell dinner, and those things will be included. But I actually am trying to put together a food experience because I really feel like people need to have a food experience in Tobago. And there will be lots of beaches and excursions and things like that. So you can look out for that. If you have any questions, I'm gonna check right now to see if there are any questions. Otherwise, thank you guys for being here, hanging out for over an hour and listening to me talk about one of my favorite places in the world. I hope that if you've never been, that it has at least piqued your interest. If you have been, I hope it makes you want to go back, because I think it's a place that's worth visiting. I went to Mount Irvin Hotel when I was a little girl, and I actually went by and saw where it was while I was there. I remember it as being a nice hotel, but all of those places, I just really feel like Tobago does need some investment in its hotel industry. There are hotels that are in very nice areas, but I think that most of them need some refurbishing. That's the one thing about when you're in a place that's very, tourist focused, like Jamaica, for example, where there are a lot of big hotel chains. They do a lot of renovations and they're always constantly upgrading the properties, where in Tobago, I feel like the places are owned by individuals or small groups of people, and I don't think they do some of the investment that, the Hilton might do or the Rio might do. So that's one of the definite things I feel like Tobago could use some more investment, but then at the same time, I always worry that too much investment would make it different than what it is, and I really like the way that it is. So it's like, how do you strike the balance? I was talking to David, my guide, about that. Like, how do you strike the balance of keeping the island's character and not losing it to development, to overdevelopment? That's like a huge challenge, because I look at places like Zanzibar and Jamaica and Aruba and all these places where all the beachfront properties are being owned by these big developers, and the local people can't even use the beaches. And that's not the case in Tobago, and I really like that. I like being able to go to the beach and see regular people there. Even Pigeon Point, which is one of the nicest beaches on the island, is a public beach. There are no resorts or anything on the beaches. You can just see the ocean. There's nothing blocking anything, and I really like that. While you come to places, even Mexico, where I live, you go to Cancun, these places, you can't even see the ocean when you're driving down the street. You can't see it for all the hotels that are blocking the ocean. You can't see it. While in Tobago, all you see is ocean. It's so beautiful. You're driving and all you see is the ocean. And I really like that. So I feel like there's a balance between development and overdevelopment. And I feel like the island is the country has a lot of oil and gas. So they are not dependent on tourism in the way that some of these other countries and islands are. But I still feel like they could, they could still use some development, but not too much development. And I think they're still trying to figure out the best way to strike that balance. But I would like them to err on the side of allowing the beaches to continue to belong to the people. Anyway, that's all I'm gonna say. I'm gonna go now. Thank you guys so much for being here, and for listening and engaging. And you can check out my website for information about the trips. Like I said, Turkey will probably be up there by early next week, along with Tobago, and Jamaica should be up there by tomorrow. You guys have a good night, and I'll see you guys next week. Next week, I think we're going to talk about colonialism, colorism, and travel for Black people. See you guys next week. Bye.